You meet Christy. She's doing pretty well herself. You guys get together. You're in a room at her parents' house. You're figuring out life. You're sick and tired of working for other people because you had bounced around a little bit more. And you said, you know what? I'm doing some side work. Why not me?
Yeah.
Why not go all in? Talk about those thoughts.
Yeah, it's weird because I thought about it in the past. I never did side work. Like, I've always been the employee. Like, I would jump through hoops for people, but I was never taken care of. And if I was taken care of the way that I feel like I take care of my employees, I probably would never open a business. But I was never taken care of. So I'm like, why am I doing this? So my best friend at that time, we went separate directions, in life. And he would always kind of come back around. He's like, hey, if I sell some shower doors on Craigslist, do you have someone you can get glass from? I'm like, yeah, I can get glass. So we did a couple side jobs. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I can actually see, I can make money. I'm like, man, if I can do this on the side after work, what can I do with all that extra time during the day? Like, I can definitely grind and hustle and, pick up contractors and do the work. And one day, it kind of was about my kids again. I didn't see them for 6 months. She kept them from me for 6 months. And finally I was going to get them for Thanksgiving. And I was like, I told the company I am taking Friday off after Thanksgiving. I'm getting my kids. And I was told, no, you don't have any PTO. It's month end, you got to be here. The managers had to be there for month end, but I wasn't a manager. They wouldn't pay me to be a manager. I was running everything in that division, but they wouldn't pay me. And I didn't have a title as a manager. I'm like, I'm not even a manager. And so at that point, I'm like, I quit. Like, I put in my notice, like, I'm done. And that was kind of it. They kept me around for a month after that to train someone else.
How old were you at that time?
29, 28, 29, right there.
So for the thought of time, you then at that point had GCS be born, more or less.
Yep.
Right? And within
my last day was December 13th of 2013.
So 2013, the next day you kind of embark on this journey.
And then I actually officially started in January 1 of 2014. I'm like, what a perfect time to start a business, January 1. So I started January 1, 2014.
January 1, 2014. What did the first 18 months look like in that business?
So it started in the bedroom. Didn't even have the garage. It was full of crap. Didn't even have the garage. And I'd will call all my glass, and I picked up a builder that he bought all his own glass and did the installs for him, so he kept me pretty busy. And I crushed it the first year.
Dude, we all have the best time ever to start a small business.
If I'm not going to be 100% in, I'm not going to do it.
Come on, man, just be yourself.
Yeah,
and just show up as yourself.
If you don't realize what I'm really about, I'm about freedom, family, and my country. Brandon, cheers, welcome. Is that water cold enough for you?
It's good. It's getting warm from the fire, but
a little humid back here.
It's not that bad.
Especially with the fire. You need bug spray.
I'm good. Bugs don't like me.
You have bugs in Arizona or just scorpions?
We got everything, dude.
You got everything? Snakes?
Sting you, poke you.
You got bears?
Bite you. Got bears.
Really?
Got
what kind of bears?
lions. Black bear.
Black bear? Yeah,
black bear everywhere. Got wolves.
Really? Yeah. Arizona's sweet. I've actually never been. I look up videos all the time. I hear people speak highly of it. Now that we're becoming friendly, maybe I'll come visit if you have me.
If you ask Chance, I'm the biggest. I always try to get people to move to Arizona. I'm like, it's a beautiful place.
You're a salesman for Arizona.
I'm the biggest salesman.
I try to sell Jersey. I mean, Jersey Shore, where I live, is a pocket of deep red and call it MAGA country down here. But New Jersey as a whole is extremely liberal and leans a little bit differently than my personal views. But
right.
I really appreciate you coming out here. I know you guys had some other obligations, but to make some time out of your busy schedule. Fireside, for the people that are your friends that are going to see this and your ecosystem, this whole entire thing started with me not having enough help coming up to make a couple bucks that I have. Right. And not that people didn't help me. And Ken says that in I Love Capitalism. He goes, anybody that tries to say they never had any help is fucking full of shit. And I did have help, and I did have a lot of help, but it wasn't a lot of help at the same time.
Right.
Especially when you're in desperate situations and money's tight and you're a young guy. For me in the finance game, who wants to go give you $1 million of their money when you haven't proven yourself yet? So it was a big thing in my heart that I wanted to turn around and help. Do something like Shark Tank, where we just gave away a landscape trailer and a pickup truck to a young kid that we saw hustling, right? And never asked for anything in return. So that was always on my brain. And I didn't have any money to give at the time, but I thought that way. So Fireside is all about turning around and helping the next guy or girl in line. And you're a dude who went through some really hard shit in your life. You've partnered up with great people from around the country with GCS now. You guys are an 8-figure company. That is not something small. And you've got a great story to tell. So you embody everything Fireside's about. And that's why I have you here. So welcome.
I appreciate you having me here. I know it was a last minute deal, and I'm glad we could make it happen.
Absolutely. So originally grew up in Phoenix area.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about your childhood. And again, we don't have to go too deep, but it wasn't something that was easy on you.
Yeah, I mean, grew up single mom, 2 brothers, no dad, no grandpa. So like no really male figures in my life. I just gravitated towards older males that I thought was right. At a young age, like my whole family was either in jail or on drugs. And me and my brothers made it out. Dropped out of high school sophomore year, so didn't graduate. And growing up, lived in a household full of a lot of people, right? A lot of animals, a lot of cousins and stuff that were just getting out of jail. Drug dealer cousin.
Yeah, you told me a quick story when we were hanging by the bar. Tell us that one real fast, just to give people a visual.
So I would, we lived in like this 1,200 square foot house. I think it was around 1,200 square feet. I lived there. My 2 brothers lived there. My mom lived there. My aunt, my cousin, and another 2 cousins, one of their girlfriends, 5 dogs, like 3 cats, like in this small ass house. Like the garage was converted to a bedroom. Me, my mom, and my younger brother lived in there. And my cousin would sell meth. He was a drug dealer. He sold meth. He'd chop it up in the sink. Like I always wondered, why is there always these cut marks in the sink? But I didn't know any better. I was in like 4th grade, 4th grade, something like that. I think it was 4th. And he used to always work on cars in the backyard. He had 2 Camaros that he worked on. So I'd always help him because I was always I was good with my hands. I was hands-on. At a young age, I always wanted to be something, entrepreneur type, whatever, cutting grass, blah, blah, blah.
You were interested to learn.
Yeah, so I'd help him work on cars. Well, the neighbor across the street was also a drug dealer. So they would beef and stuff. So I remember one day in this Camaro, I'm sitting in passenger. We pull out of the gate, and this guy, Brian, across the street is out, and they start arguing. Well, my cousin pulls a 9mm out, puts it across my chest, and I'm
fourth grade. He's in 4th grade.
So young, points it at him, and then Brian's like, oh, you want to play guns? Let me go inside and get my gun. He walks away to go get his gun. And then so my cousin's like, hey, just go back to the house, and he watch it, make sure Brian doesn't come over here and fuck with anything. So kind of.
So if Brian, this grown adult, comes back over with like an AR or another handgun, what am I protecting?
Throw a wrench at him. I don't know what to do. So
that's a tough environment.
Pretty wild situation. My mom got us out of there. We moved to another aunt's, and we eventually got a place of our own or whatever. And then
you were through it though.
Cousin lived there with no electricity for a while and stuff, where they're boiling water and shit, like the hot water and stuff like that. But we got out, went to a duplex, and kind of lived there for the rest of my childhood growing up.
So, and obviously to paint the picture, you had an extremely difficult childhood.
Yeah. I mean, there was times where we'd get turkeys donated to us from the fire department. Clothes and stuff donated for Christmas from the school. I didn't know any better. My cousin, who's a little bit older than me, he tells a story of like, yeah, I knew someone was up. I had a cool starter jacket on, and I went to school, and there was another kid that had one that was really similar. And I found out that he got it from the school, and he's like, that's where we got bikes or something like that.
Did that motivate you later on in life? Like, I don't want to ever have to be in that same position with my family?
Yeah, I've always had that mentality of just grinding. I'm just going to work. As soon as I was able to get a job, I went and got a job. So like 15 and a half, I was able to legally get a job.
Dropped out of high school, right?
Dropped out of high school. I was riding BMX, freestyle BMX.
Were you any good?
Yeah, I was a local pro.
No shit.
Did, backflips and all that type of stuff. And
Matt, go get the bike.
I still do a 360, 180 rollback.
No
Where's
shit.
the bike at?
No shit.
I didn't party or anything like that. I was too busy riding bikes. And then I went to work at a bike shop.
You were busy. You were into something. That's good.
And then I never took it completely serious because I couldn't afford to get hurt because I was supporting myself. And I always had a job. I couldn't afford to not work. So
I know the feeling.
And then, when I was 18, my best friend's stepdad was working for a company in San Diego. They moved out to San Diego and was like, hey, if you want to move out here, I'll get you and Matt both a job, making $14 an hour, starting out in the glass industry. He was a project manager for a commercial company. Sweet, sounds good. I got
nothing to lose. I'm going to San Diego.
Making like $6 an hour right now. Like, I can make $14 an hour, get to go live in San Diego. Let's try it out. Moved out there, interviewed with the owner, gave us both $7 an hour minimum wage to start. And I'm like, well, shit, I'm already out here. So it is what it is.
It is what it is.
So just started working for that. And that's how I got in the glass business, was that. And usually the glass business, you're either like raised in it, like you don't like go to school or grow up thinking, I'm going to be a glazer, I'm going to go install some glass. You just either somehow get connected and get into it, or you're raised in it. So
yeah, it was something that gave you an out at the time. You had nothing to hold on to in Phoenix.
Right.
Got to go out to San Diego, beautiful weather.
Yep.
And learn a trade. You were already good with your hands. So from there, and I'll fast track your story because I want to get to GCS more and drill down.
Yeah.
You bounced around a little bit. Wanted to be a firefighter. And
bounced around, and then like 2008, when the economy was kind of crashing and stuff, I wanted to be a firefighter. So I went to school. I actually have a diploma now. I got it in like 2009, an online class. I had my buddy help me online to make sure I was going to pass it and shit. So I did an online thing just so I can go to college and go to EMT school. So became an EMT. A prereq was you had to be on an ambulance for 6 months before you can even go to medic school. And in San Diego County, you had to be a medic to be a firefighter. I didn't really want to be a medic. I just wanted to be a firefighter. And so I kind of quit 3 days after I was on an ambulance. It just wasn't taking the pay cut from being a glazer to on an ambulance. And I had a kid and another one on the way. It just didn't work out. So
yeah. And also, you were married at the time.
I was married at the time. Helped a buddy in Texas after that because the economy sucked. He needed some help on a commercial job, the glass, running it. So I went out there, bounced back and forth from San Diego to there for about 6 months. Moved back. My best friend's stepdad opened his own shop at that time. Worked for him for a little bit. And then eventually, like, everything just went south. We had another kid, got divorced, and I moved back to Arizona. Because I couldn't afford to pay child support, spousal support, and have no one in San Diego and try to live on my own in San Diego making $21 an hour.
Yeah, it's very expensive out there in Cali.
Yeah.
So you moved back to Arizona. What did you start doing at that time?
When I moved back, I went to work for a commercial glass company doing, commercial buildings. And then I ended up going to work for a Fortune 500 company that's a big building envelope to do residential and get back in the shower doors.
Yeah, and during that time of your life, you were trying to obviously make ends meet. You're trying to figure out your way. You were determined to have a better life than you had.
Yeah.
And you now had children back in California.
Yep.
And that was extremely hard on you. And you shared a pretty personal, private story with me that you said would be okay to talk on podcasts. And that's not easy to do, but you're going to potentially inspire someone to not do what you didn't do that day. You pulled off the side of the road and really contemplated ending your life.
Yeah, so it was tough because, like I said, my kids were young. So I think my youngest was, I got divorced when she was turned 1. So 1 and 3.
That's my daughter now.
And I was like, I was that guy. I didn't have a dad growing up, so I was like, I'm gonna make sure I'm in my kid's life. And people say that, you know, that side of the family, I ran away, but like I couldn't afford to live there, so I had no choice to move back home. So move back home, and just trying to make ends meet, but trying to stay in their life. And she made it tough, and couldn't see him, fighting to see him. Like literally, I could have just gave up and not. So it is what it is. Like that she's trying to push their stepdad to be their dad, and it ate at me. And one day driving home from a job, I was like, man, it's not worth it anymore. Like I'm spending this money with attorneys I don't even have, trying to fight to see my kids, and like, why do I have to fight to see my kids when like I'm doing everything right? Like I'm paying child support, paying spouse support, and I didn't want to do it anymore. And at that point, I was like, I have nothing going on, and wanted to end it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more men in this country that have that type of horrible thought, more than we all know of. And it could be someone that you're close friends with or in your family. There's another gentleman, Pete, I'm not sharing anything that he hasn't shared, actually his 365. And the book that he put out, the ebook he put out, talks a lot about, one day running and just wanting to jump off the edge of the bridge. He was just so fed up of what was going on. It's hard, and especially when you have 2 kids in another state and you're drowning in debt and bills. And
I mean, it's really easy to get to that spot. Like it's easy, and I get choked up now still talking about it. Like I don't have those thoughts at all, but it's still thinking about my kids. And the reason I didn't do it was my kids. I thought like I can write them a letter, but I didn't trust anybody not one person that I trust to get them a letter to tell my story.
Yeah, and those kids have you thriving today. So to move your story along a little bit more, you meet a wonderful lady who's now your wife. And your wife's first name, I'm sorry?
Christy.
Christy. You meet Christy. She's doing pretty well herself. You guys get together. You're in a room at her parents' house. You're figuring out life. You're sick and tired of working for other people because you had bounced around a little bit more. And you said, you know what, I'm doing some side work. Why not me?
Yeah.
Why not go all in? Talk about those thoughts.
Yeah, it's weird because I thought about it in the past. I never did side work. Like I've always been the employee. Like I would jump through hoops for people, but I was never taken care of. And if I was taken care of the way that I feel like I take care of my employees, I probably would never open a business. But I was never taken care of. So I'm like, why am I doing this? So my best friend at that time, we went separate directions, in life. And he would always kind of come back around. He's like, hey, if I sell some shower doors on Craigslist, do you have someone you can get glass from? I'm like, yeah, I can get glass. So we did a couple side jobs. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I can actually see, I can make money. I'm like, man, if I can do this on the side after work, what can I do with all that extra time during the day? Like I can definitely grind and hustle and, pick up contractors and do the work. And one day, it kind of was about my kids again. I didn't see them for 6 months. She kept them from me for 6 months. And finally I was going to get them for Thanksgiving. And I was like, I told the company I am taking Friday off after Thanksgiving. I'm getting my kids. And I was told, no, you don't have any PTO. It's month end. You got to be here. The managers had to be there for month end, but I wasn't a manager. They wouldn't pay me to be a manager. I was running everything in that division, but they wouldn't pay me. And I didn't have a title as a manager. I'm like, I'm not even a manager. And so at that point, I'm like, I quit. Like I put in my notice, like I'm done. And that was kind of it. They kept me around for a month after that to train someone else.
How old were you at that time?
29, 28, 29, right there.
So for the thought of time, you then at that point had GCS be born, more or less.
Yep.
Right? And within
my last day was December 13th of 2013.
So 2013, the next day you kind of embark on this journey.
And then I actually officially started in January 1 of 2014. I'm like, what a perfect time to start a business, January 1. So I started January 1, 2014.
January 1, 2014. What did the first 18 months look like in that business?
Well, so it started in the bedroom. Didn't even have the garage. It was full of crap. Didn't even have the garage. And I'd will call all my glass, and I picked up a builder that he bought all his own glass and did the installs for him, so he kept me pretty busy. And I crushed it the first year. By myself with my cousin didn't really work, so I'd pay him under the table. But I mean, right out the gate, we did $250,000 in the first year of, I didn't know how to run a business. I knew how to install and do that. So learning the books and, invoicing and pricing correctly and all that.
And this is a nugget for people who watch the podcast. Quick news flash. Nobody knows how to fucking run a business when they start.
Still don't know how to run a business correctly.
And you hire
still learning
people
every
to do
day,
it.
right?
Yeah.
You hire people.
Running a P&L, having
Yeah.
a CFO, doing projections of cash flow, all that stuff. No one knew how to do. I didn't know how to do. I
Right.
still don't know how to do.
Right.
I pay people that help me do that, right?
Right.
I'm focused on what I do best.
The first person I ever hired was a CPA because I knew I didn't want to get caught up in the tax bullshit.
Yeah.
So I hired a CPA.
And the
then
tax game sucks.
And I kind of just went out and did my own thing. And then from there, we moved into an apartment. And then...
when did you guys get married?
You're going to laugh at me. We don't know dates. We always forget dates. We don't celebrate our anniversary. We just
Yep.
it's 2015. No, 16.
All right, happy anniversary.
Yeah, 2016. Yeah, any day. And my wife will laugh because it's always oh, it was our anniversary. But we just don't celebrate like that. So.
Yeah.
But what happened was we were in the apartment and then my mom got diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. I'm the only one that lives in Arizona. My brothers live in other states. So the burden fell on me to take care of her. But I was just a year in to getting the business going. So my wife had a really good career. She went to college and all that and had a good job as a therapist. And she chose to walk away from her job to take care of my mom, take her to all her doctor's appointments, chemo, radiation, get all the paperwork in line. And that's when I was like, man, she deserves me to marry her. Yeah. So it's funny because I had a job, it was a wine cellar job for Paul Fleming, the owner of Fleming Steakhouse and part of PF Chang's and all that.
Yeah.
And it was the first wine cellar I ever did was in Fisherman's Wharf, San Francisco. So I got flown out there and everything. So I'm like, what a perfect time. I'm going to bring her with me. And I bought a ring and I'll propose at the Golden Gate Bridge. And I proposed in 2015, got married in 2016.
That's awesome, man.
So.
And you've done some pretty cool shit. You did those glass stairs in Grant Cardone's house, right? One of his houses?
In Brandon Dawson, his business partner. Yeah, we did some
business partner's house,
glass
yeah.
railings in his
And
house.
that's on your Instagram. Those are sick.
And we did
I'd be nervous almost walking up those.
Hudson Yards,
Yep.
Billionaire's Playground. We did Wine Spectator in there. We did custom wine cabinets, and then the observation deck.
Yep.
The restaurant in there, Peak or whatever
Yeah,
it's called.
yep.
We did all the wine cellar and the whiskey cabinets in there.
That's sick. It's beautiful in there.
So that was a pretty cool job. We got a union exemption to fly out to do that job. They're sneaking us in the back door and shit late nights to work on that job.
And you have scaled this business and you have partners in multiple states now, 5 locations, looking to take on additional partners or buy people out who are looking to maybe retire. Talk about what your thought process was on scaling. What was that?
So it really didn't we were doing pretty good in Phoenix. We were doing 7 figures. And then I just had this idea. So a buddy of mine, one of my best friends that worked with me coming up in San Diego, he ended up becoming a paramedic and moved to Colorado. So he was a paramedic in Colorado and he was tired of it. And I'm like, hey, it was 2018. Why don't we just open up a GCS out here? We'll be partners. And we can scale this thing pretty easy. And that's where it started, was from there. So we did that and started having a little bit of success. The trends, every time you open a new company is better than the last company, right? It happens faster. So I can see the growth was happening better than it did in Phoenix faster. And then we kind of got a little bit slow, and then I met Chance. And Chance was in Austin. He owned Ames Mirror and Glass out there. And he had some stuff going on with his daughter, so he needed to move out of that climate, and he wanted to move to Denver because they had a really good children's hospital. So he called me one day, and we didn't know each other too much. We just kind of exchanged stuff on Instagram and everything. And he's like, hey, we're trying to move to Denver. Let me come out there and blow up your Denver location. And we always had kind of the same vision. You know, we wanted to create this company and help others, and a school for glazing and stuff like that. And we always talk about it. And so he moved out to Colorado doing sales and marketing for us. I didn't market really. Like it was word of mouth, you know.
Yeah, the contractors you had, you were busy
and
enough.
everything. And if anyone saw my video yesterday on Instagram, like stopping in on a job site where a contractor is trying to sell a shower door, that's how it was built.
Yeah.
And then we kind of did the marketing thing and kind of took off from there. And
yeah, you actually don't have much. Our relationship started through my partner in Patriot Payments, Dylan. And as I started to follow you, we had a conversation. I remember I was walking on East Ave up here by the ocean.
Now sitting in front of Sportsman's Warehouse, ready to go buy some stuff for hunting.
Yeah, I was like, this dude's a good dude. He's got a pretty wild story. I'm like, why don't I know it? Why haven't I seen it? You know, 8-figure business. You know, they're scaling. They're putting the right standard out there for glass work. Good people, love America, patriots. Like, you need to tell your story more.
Yeah.
And I've been chirping at you in the
Right,
DM.
right.
Like, I don't want to see you mountain climbing anymore. I don't want to see your ultra run. Tell me about your business. Tell me about your story.
Yeah.
And I know that's uncomfortable, especially for you. You're pretty open about that.
Right.
But you have a story to tell, man. You're going to inspire someone today, and you and your partners are building, you know, a ridiculous business. You're right here in Long Island. You're looking to be in Jersey. You're out here looking to buy a Jersey glass business. So if anybody who watches this podcast, you have a glass business here in Jersey, make sure you reach out to Brandon and his partners. Your other partner is right in Long Island.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of Long Island friends and family out there. Like, these are your glass guys. Make sure you hit up GCS.
Yeah.
So when we talk about scaling a business, right? Standard operations, procedures, right? Automation, optimization. You know, what is the top 3 things that you think is important?
Systems, branding, and training.
Yeah, and you do some pretty cool stuff. I watch your Instagram. You get a guy up on the table. He's kind of shredded. He starts like flexing, doing push-ups in the morning. You get everybody stretching out.
We're trying to build the culture even better at the shops. You know what I mean? So, just trying to get everyone involved. You know, that culture is a big thing. I mean, if you don't have culture, it's hard to scale a business. So trying to get guys to buy in and all that. So branding's huge. The systems. We have our own software that's helped us scale. I have to credit that. You know, built it out early on.
I'm going to get to the software in a second. Branding. What is like, you know, we all read Shoe Dog, right? Nike. Everybody knows the swoosh.
Right.
And that was something that taught me years ago when I, you know, watched that book. Even if I stay small as a finance guy, like, have a brand people know locally at least. What do you really do to help you and your company grow in a sense of branding?
Just, you know, it all starts with just your logo, your name, and everything. So our original name was Grand Canyon State Glass Design. It was long as shit.
That's a lot.
And every time I'd buy a vehicle and I had to sign Brandon, owner, Grand Canyon State Glass Design on all these pages, I'm like, dude, this is terrible. Like, so, and then I'm like, we're going to other states. Can't have Grand Canyon State Glass Design in other states. And so we went to GCS. And like that's the name that people know. So they'll hear GCS, they're gonna know it's a glass company. They're gonna know exactly what it is. They don't have to associate glass to it. They'll know exactly what it is here in the future. But like, just wrapping your vehicles, nice shirts, nice hats.
Yeah.
We went as far as custom Nikes, orange and black Nikes for all the employees that said GCS Glass on them.
Yeah, those details that cost a couple extra bucks, like, go a long way.
And my big thing is, like, I'm not gonna buy
that great hat you have on. I love that thing. Make sure I get one.
Right. The cheap T-shirts. Like, we're gonna buy nice T-shirts. Like, our guys want extra hats and extra shirts they can wear to go out in because they love it.
That's your guerrilla marketing right there.
And before I left, they said, "Hey, what are we doing this year? Are we doing jackets or are we doing hoodies?" Like, every year I do something different, a hoodie or a jacket or something nice for the guys. And so now they look forward to that. So every year they're like, hey, what are we getting for
Yeah,
what
nice
are we getting for
Carhartt
winter,
jacket
you know?
or whatever it is.
We did Carhartts last year for all the owners. And we did, nice dry duck jackets with all the guys' names on them a few years ago. So we just do things like that, and then just try to brand everything you have, because brands withstand the economy, right?
Yeah.
When it's slow, like, brands stick out. They remember them.
Absolutely. So where do you look to go? Actually, before I go into that, the software piece, this is a real important piece. You have a lot of people in your industry reaching out to use this software. Talk a little bit about the software. And
So we actually have 3 softwares that is part of our stack. So we have our main CRM that everything goes into. We write our estimates, we invoice out of. We have our accounts receivable, we have all our reports, project manage through it, schedule through it. The guys have iPads in the field, so everything is on the cloud. So we get it instantly when they take a picture of a job and put it. It's in there, all that. Then we have a sales and marketing platform called Follow Up, and essentially what is automation and communication and all that. So we text customers. They come into our world. We have custom built pipeline in it, and we're able to quote our customers and text it to them within 5 minutes. Like, that's our thing. We'll get you a quote within 5 minutes. We don't have to go into your house to get you a quote. So we've kind of changed. People were doing it, but we pushed it really hard to change where we don't have to drive around all day long.
Yeah,
and
send me a
give you
picture
free
of your
estimates.
shower.
Just send me a picture. We do thousands of shower
that's what
doors.
the car insurance companies do nowadays. You get into an accident, take a picture, you upload it to their app.
There's landscape companies that would just go on Google Earth and give you a quote by looking at your yard.
Yeah, the roofing. They can
Yeah.
just get a picture from the
So
sky.
we're like, take a picture, send us rough sizes, we'll get you a quote within 5 minutes. And we close jobs left and right, and we just send them through text message. And we crushed it during COVID because we don't ever have to go into your home. So when people were worried about COVID, they're like, and they're sitting at home and wanting to remodel, like, oh, we can do this, but we can get quotes without anyone coming out here or bothering us or anything.
And the software's so intelligent, it can probably measure it for you and
So
stuff.
so what it does is we built that automation, so it's touch points to people, because it's 7 to 12 follow-ups is 80% of your sales, and people don't realize that.
Yeah.
And that's why we named it Follow-Up. And the slogan is, the money is in the follow-up. Nobody follows up with customers anymore because they're always on to the next one.
They get busy chasing their tail. Or
Yeah. So, and then we have Price Up, which is our estimating, like, shower doors. So it's essentially we have default layouts of the basic frameless shower doors we do. And so all you gotta do is punch in the sizes. After you do all the back end stuff and you build your templates, you just punch in the sizes and it gives you a sale price. So that way you can train inside sales people to quote super quick. And then the goal is to, here pretty soon, hopefully within the next year, is to attach it all to Follow Up, that when a customer comes in from Google, or they come in off our website where they put in their sizes and they pick what they want, it automatically prices it in Price Up, and Follow Up sends them a text message with a quote, and then puts them in an automation. We don't even talk to them in the middle of the night, and we're selling shower doors.
That's huge. Yeah, you got a husband and wife messing around.
Yeah.
It's 10 o'clock, they're laying in bed.
Yep.
And bloop, that's going to be, $5
Yeah.
grand, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then all you do is, like, people are so scared of automation nowadays. They're so scared of AI and all the automation stuff.
It's here to stay, so you might as well
it's here to
embrace
stay.
it.
It's not going anywhere, and it's coming fast. But we're not sitting there with automation. Like, we're still talking to customers. It's human back. Like, it's us on the other line talking to the customers and stuff like that as well. But there's just automation, the touch points, that you don't need 15 employees to keep doing this. You can have automation do that, and your customer experience goes through the roof, right? Because that's the biggest thing, is we're taking care of the customer and our quality. So
I think there's a lot more business that can optimize and automate their business, and they think they can't.
Right.
They're kind of stuck in an old school way. They're afraid of technology.
Well, the thing is, right now, like, I can go anywhere in the world and still operate my business.
Yeah.
Like,
Huge.
I can just take my laptop with me and I can quote showers wherever I am. I can still communicate. I can see what's
It's
going
so
on.
funny you say that. I have a young kid, Nick, and he's like, he sold off his landscape company. He's got a couple restaurants. He said, what do you want? He's like, I want to be the guy that can work on the beach from my laptop. And nowadays with AI and different technology, if you're embracing it properly, like, you can go and do that. I'm going to take a quick break.
Yeah, how come you got the good chair? I got ash all over me.
Yeah, usually I'm blocked by the shed. So if the wind's coming that way or the fire's burning, usually the ash is falling over there. Occasionally I get it.
It's all good.
You had all black on. I want to make sure I
Right?
peppered you.
Now I look like a Dalmatian.
We'll take a quick break and then we'll come back. We're going to get into the juicy part of the podcast, a little bit more of the trending topics.
Sweet.
Thank you. Taking a quick break in the podcast, I want to talk about the Pit 2.0. What is the Pit 2.0? It's made up of a huge network of people across all different industries that are solving problems, creating solutions, and also bringing together a lot of marketing and sales ideas. If you want to get into a Pit group like this, it's very inexpensive, $147 a month. If you want to learn more about it, check out the links and the information below. Hopping back in. Took a little break, a little bathroom break.
Yeah.
Good thing for the pea shed.
Get the ashes off me.
The ash off you.
Get it off your hat. You got a little string.
We got it on the hat. Yeah, that's a beautiful hat. I need to
we
get
go.
one of those too.
I actually had a shirt for you and I forgot it at the hotel.
Ah, that's all right. Send it to me in the mail. Nice hat.
I got a Do Epic Shit shirt, 1% better on the back.
I like the shirt and I like the hats, man.
Yeah, I'll
send
send
it
it to
out. I'll
you.
rock it. I'll rock it on the podcast.
Yeah.
So, I want to talk a little bit about your personal life. Talk about some trending topics. You have an awesome business. You guys are going places. That software is something that is unique, and a lot of people need to hook up with you when it comes to that stuff. So, you're also big into the ultras, big into running.
Yeah.
I'm always chirping in your DM, like, why are you running the mountain again? You just did core in the gym.
Yeah.
You're running 10 miles up the mountain, 20 miles. Talk a little bit of how you got into that world.
So I hunt a lot, and I, followed a guy, Cameron Haynes, and he's an endurance athlete.
If you don't know Cameron Haynes, you probably live on the
Yeah.
side of a cliff or
I
something.
mean, probably best bow hunter in the world, right? Sponsored by Hoyt, was sponsored by Under Armour.
been on Rogan multiple
Been
times.
on one of Rogan's really good friends. Got Rogan into bow hunting, I think. So, but so I followed him and started seeing that, and I'm like, and I needed to make a change, and I was working behind the desk. I wasn't in the field a lot anymore, so I was gaining weight. I was just out of shape, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna start running. Like, I hate running, and I'm like, I'll start running a quarter mile. I feel like I was gonna have a heart attack. Just dead. And then started running and a little bit more, and then this year in January, like at the end of the year, I was kind of like training and running a little bit, but I wasn't nothing long distance. And I'm like, I'm gonna see how far I can push myself next year. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna see what I can do. And then literally in January, I met Eric. And for people that don't know, Eric McCormick, Outlaw Strength. So in the David Goggins video of him bench pressing, who's gonna carry the boats?
Very famous video. You can look it up on YouTube.
That's Eric behind him saying, you are, David, you are 21, 22.
And Eric's your boy. You guys train together 3 days a week, he said.
3 days a week we train together. Really good friend of mine. He trained Cameron Haynes for 12 years. I saw one day that he moved to Arizona, and I hit him. I slipped into his DMs. I was like, well, let's see what's going to happen. Let's see if he writes me back. And I'm like, I didn't know you moved to Arizona. And he wrote me right back. He's like, yeah. And we talked a little bit, and he's like, let's get a workout in. I went and worked out with him for the first time, and like, I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
Like, and I thought I was in decent shape, and I was like, freaking gonna puke, and freaking ears were clogged and everything. And then, he started working out, and then he had a videographer, this guy Brandon, and Brandon's done ultras. He's ran a 200 miler and stuff on his own and some crazy shit. And then one day, so I did a half marathon in January. It was the longest I ever ran. Eric showed up, I ran the half marathon, and I didn't know whether to sit down or jump around or stand up. My knees and my legs hurt so bad, they were aching so bad. I'm like, dude, this sucks. Like, is the pain gonna go away? And I'm like, shit. And then literally like 2 weeks later, I probably didn't run. 2 weeks later, I met this other guy, Kiefer, and he trained with Eric, and he ran ultras. And then he signed up for a 60K, which is 37 miles. And Brandon signed up. And Brandon was like, well, you should sign up. I'm like, fuck, 37 miles, dude. Like, I just ran 13.
I was dead after 13.
And then he goes and I was like, fuck it, I'll sign up. February 19th, like a month later. I ran probably 10 miles between.
That was this year?
That was this year. I ran 10 miles from my half marathon to when I was doing this 37 mile. And so half marathon's pavement, right?
Yeah.
This 37 mile ultra, was in the mountains. And I
And
didn't
if you
know,
never even hiked in the mountains, I mean, it's hard to just.
I didn't know
walk
I didn't know what to expect. So I'm like, okay, start running. Cool. Like I'm good. Group of people, we're going, and then it's like we hit the first aid station at like mile 6. I'm like, all right, I feel kind of good. And then mile 10, I'm like, ooh, I'm starting to feel the same pain in my knee that I felt on the half. I'm like, here we go. Mile 13, I'm like, oh man. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I'm in uncharted territory. I've never been past 13 miles. Like, I'm going. And then we hit the halfway point. Like, it was like 19 miles. And I'm like, all right, this is the big aid station. So we're eating and stuff a little bit and getting ready to go. And then we leave. And I'm like, dude, this sucks. Like, we're only halfway done. And I still got to go another 18 miles.
Yeah, a lot.
And it's getting harder. Like, the course it started off easier, and then we're going into Black Canyon, which is like up and down sharp rocks and stuff like that. So we're going, and then Kiefer we were gonna run together, all three of us, and Kiefer's like, I'm feeling good, I'm gonna see what I can do. So he went, and then, you know, at like mile 21, Brandon's like, I'm gonna just empty the gas tank and see what I can do. And I'm like, all right, cool, I'm out here by myself, fucking running.
Was it dark?
No, it was during the day.
Yeah.
But I'm like, all right, here we go. So Brandon's gone. I'm by myself. There's not really too many people around me anymore. And then mile like 22, I fucking rolled my ankle and fell.
Ooh.
Like, fuck. And so my ankle's hurting. So I'm running. And then I get to another aid station. And I remember this one aid station. I don't even remember what mile it was at. Like, my calves started to cramp up really bad because someone told me if you don't sweat that much, you probably don't need any salt. You'll probably be good. Well, that was a fucking lie. You need a lot of salt when you're running that far, right? Because you're just sweating it all out. So, like, and I remember, so I was running, like shuffling my feet until I start feeling my calves start to ball up and about to cramp. And then I would like let off and let them go back down. And I'd walk for a second, and then I'd do it again and just repeat. And then I remembered I went to go run across the pavement. So I came out of this little hill onto the pavement, and I go to start running to this aid station, and my shit tightened up, and I just almost like I couldn't lift my legs. I almost tripped and fell in the middle of the road. Got through it, and then, you know, I still ran 15 miles like that and finished. It took me 10 hours and 22 minutes to do
That's
it.
incredible, man.
And then I called Eric. It was on a Sunday. And then we went and ate pizza. And I was like, I don't feel that bad when I'm walking around. And so I text Eric. I'm like, hey, we training in the morning? He's like, that's up to you, brother. Like, I'm like, I think I feel good. And then I fucking went to bed. And I woke up at like midnight to take a piss. And like, I couldn't even walk. I'm like, text him. I'm like, dude, I can't walk. I'm not going to make it. So
you were pumped up with the adrenaline for finishing that. But
so that was
reality set in.
Like the whole second half of the race, I'm like, yeah, fucking ultras. I'm not gonna do these. I'll leave it for someone else. I'll do something.
But you did another one, right?
But then when you finish, you're like, man, that was awesome. Like, yeah, I did another one a little bit different. It was I did back-to-back 27 Ks, so it was like 17 miles. So we did a 17-mile night race, and then you go to bed and wake up the next morning and do 17 miles again. So it's 34 miles. But I was fresh after that. Like, I started training after that, so I was good. I could have kept going. So
and that's launched you into the whole world. Obviously, you already liked hunting.
Yeah.
You know, Eric got you the ability to go see Cam Haynes and all the guys out there.
So I started this thing, you know, I did the shirt, do epic shit. And that was the saying, is let's just do epic shit in our life. And then on the back, it says 1% better. Because I always say, you know, be 1% better every day. But that's kind of the whole thing. We're doing the Grand Canyon in November, probably on my birthday, rim to rim to rim. It's 50 miles in a day. But just do tough stuff. I did a sprint triathlon recently, never did a tri, never rode a road bike, bought a road bike, and I was like, well, try it out. I took 39th out of 195 people and 4th in my class, so
pretty impressive.
It wasn't too bad. So I'm gonna I got an Olympic triathlon in October, and I'm gonna go do an Ironman in April. So
that's awesome. And it's allowed you to go meet some of these great guys like Cam Haynes.
Yeah, kind of get into their circle and stuff like that. And, you know, Eric's helped me with my nutrition and fitness, like change the way I look at eating, you know, to fuel your body, not because you're hungry, but to fuel your body. It's like a race car, you know, you need high performance stuff. So make sure you're doing it right.
Well, listen, you're a high performance guy.
Yeah.
Your business is operating at high performance.
And then like by doing that, it excels me to be able to operate the business at a higher level. Like
Yeah.
to being level-headed and just clear and focused, and the
That's
thing.
why if, back in the day, young kid advisor, it was happy hour and dinners and
Right.
taking people out. And now, I've had 2 or 3 of these late little girly drinks, some people would say nowadays, but like I got to stop there or I can't get up and
Yeah.
work out and function and be.
Yeah. So my thing is, my day usually starts at 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
So I'm
really.
usually up at 3:30 in the morning. I haven't done it recently because I have to fix it, but I'd wake up at 3:30 and go right into my cold plunge. Start my day. Go to the gym.
You can't do like 4:30,
Go to the
4:45.
When I work out with Eric, we work out at 5:30, so I sleep in a little bit. I wake up at 4. But on days where I'm working out by myself, I wake up at 3:30 and get to the gym like right as it opens.
Yeah.
So
that's
at 4.
that's
So-
insane, but it's obviously helping you.
Yeah,
do
just like
big
get
shit,
it out
do
of the way.
epic
So
shit.
like do the hard shit first, right? And just get it out of the way, and then you've already won the day. Like you work out and do all that, you already won the day. And it's like it's nice being able to do all that, and then like people are still sleeping.
Some days, like right now, I'm on probably a 15-hour day. I was up at 4:45, doing this podcast. Relatively. By the time you guys get out of here, I shower, I get to bed. It's almost an 18-hour day
Right.
for me. I may not want to get up at 4:45 again tomorrow, right? So sometimes I have midday workouts, but the days I am up, which is most of the days, and I get that early morning workout in, it's so much better of a day. I'm so much more clear. My speech comes, sometimes when my brain's fogged, the words don't come to me as clear. I'm not in that flow
Yeah.
state. When I'm working out, I'm hitting the sauna, I'm hitting the cold plunge.
I mean, that's helped me like talk on Instagram more, is like because you just that dopamine rush and all
Yeah.
that stuff, right? You work out and you do all. Nobody ever
It
leaves.
jogs your thoughts.
Nobody ever leaves a gym in a bad mood.
Nope.
Right? Like no one. So
No.
it just helps you, that cognitive stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. So this is the new part of our podcast, is kind of talking about some trending topics that are out there on the internet, right? You see Andy and his podcast, it's Cruise the Internet.
Yeah.
So it's kind of my version of Cruise the Internet. The first one I wanted to ask you about was Tucker Carlson, right? He's fired from Fox.
Yeah.
He goes and has an interview with Trump. We're guys who love America. And
Like half the country tune into it.
yeah, I think half the country, like 178 million people
insane.
within 12 hours. It's now well over 250 million people who have viewed the interview in its entirety, which is really impressive.
Yeah.
And so I started to pay attention to Tucker a little bit closer. He has on this individual who claims to have had sexual relations with Obama. Right? He now, whether or not this is true, you and I have no idea.
Right.
Could be a complete, fantasy bullshit, and this guy's just looking for some fame.
Yeah.
And but what most people don't know about that interview was Tucker vetted out his story, at least his team did, and also gave the guy a lie detector test,
Oh shit.
and he passed it all. Now, whether or not you could scam a lie detector
Yeah.
test, I've heard in the past you can.
Right.
But who knows? I mean, they took the effort they could to try to,
Yeah, because Tucker Carlson's not just going to have anybody on.
No,
right?
he can't.
Yeah.
Right? It's a part of his
He's
brand.
going to lose his credibility.
Yep. And again, maybe it was below Tucker, or maybe this guy's legit as it comes. But they talked about he met him in the bar. You didn't know who Obama was at the time. He was a senator in Chicago.
Yeah.
They asked him if he can get coke. Obama says, "Get in my limo." They go somewhere. Obama gets coke, and he starts snorting it, and supposedly Obama's smoking it. And before they know it, they were, having sex, back at his place. When you see something like that, right? And again, it's not that you can't be gay in this country.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want to do.
Right.
But for somebody who doesn't talk about that, or you're a president who smoked crack, and is that the person we want to lead this country?
Right.
What do you think about when you see that interview?
I mean, honestly, it doesn't surprise me nowadays. Like, I feel like just
Everything goes.
Nothing surprises me nowadays. I just like, oh, really? Like, but I don't know. There's wild stories out there, but it's just one of those things where, like I said, I mean, Tucker Carlson's not going to just have any Joe Blow on there that's going to ruin his credibility. So, like, there had to have been something there that people felt was true. And he's not out there to destroy Obama's image just to destroy it, right? What does it matter? So
Yeah, some
but-
people go into it's entertainment business, which again,
Yeah.
my podcast is, we try to keep it, real as fuck.
Right.
But, we want to talk about trending topics too, because that helps you get additional views on the internet and
Right.
stuff. So some people are like, but dude, you gave him a lie detector test.
Yeah.
He was approaching it pretty seriously, and this guy's got a really vivid story. And again, anybody can make up a vivid story if you have somewhat of an IQ and walk through these chain of
Right.
events. But he was like, no, I started rubbing Obama's leg, and it wasn't his first time. He liked it, And it's just wild to think of. And, you hear people out there rumbling, Michelle is really a man.
Yeah,
And
Michael or whatever.
Michael,
it is,
and, they're going to run. And again, that's unfair too, right? Because who really knows what she is
Right.
or isn't? And you can identify as anything nowadays. So she identifies as whatever she is.
Right.
But, or he is. But pretty wild stuff to think about. This president of the United States was smoking crack, and somebody who claims to be a heterosexual male is
But it'll get brushed under the rug, and no one will.
With
talk
everything
about
else,
it, with
right?
everything else, nothing ever.
like Hunter
comes about.
sleeping with minors and
Yeah.
blowing lines in the White House and
Yeah.
everything else that goes
Most
on.
secure house in the world, and they don't know where the coke came from.
Yeah, sure, sure, right.
Yeah.
Second trending topic, which is really here on the East Coast, and you guys, really jogged my memory with it. There was an inmate that brutally murdered his girlfriend, stabbed her to death. I forget what amount of time, but it was a
32 times.
it was
or
a
something
brutal
like that?
murder.
Yeah.
Brutal murder scene. He escaped prison in PA, and he's been on the run for 2 weeks. He was actually just captured today. When you think about that, right? Like, first off, how did this new inmate who doesn't know the system, the procedures, figure out a way out of jail? I don't know exactly. I don't know. Does anybody know how long he was in before he escaped? It was relatively quick, right? Does anybody know? I don't know. He wasn't in there long. Maybe a week, maybe two. Got out of jail and was terrorizing a town. They were looking for him in wooded areas. At
Yeah.
one point, he broke into a garage, stole a rifle,
Got shot at.
got shot at.
I heard there's a video of him escaping. That's pretty crazy, like the way he escaped too.
I didn't see it. We got to put that plug in, Ev,
Yeah.
in this for everybody. But really wild story, and they finally captured him today. They actually sicked the dog on him. He got some
bit him in his head.
Yeah,
and shit.
got some big bites. Like, how the hell does that happen? Like, what do you think is going on that this guy's able to do what he did and then escape within that short period
I don't know,
of
because
time?
the story that I heard, and I don't know, I haven't looked it up. So, but I heard I don't know if someone escaped before him, got caught, and then like a couple days later he got out, like a different way or same way in the same area, something like that. But
I forgot about it too until you guys. I thought that guy was.
I didn't even know about it.
Caught.
And I saw it today. We were eating, and I was like, oh, must have caught that dude. And like there was like 40 fucking SWAT guys.
Did this guy
pulling
have
him
like a
out.
prior history as like a SEAL, a Green Beret, like
They didn't look
to
no.
evade the
I don't
authorities?
Even know. I heard something that he wasn't even. I heard he was an illegal immigrant.
Yeah, was he a legal immigrant?
I don't
yeah,
know. That's
I
what
think he
heard.
was too. Yeah,
So
yeah.
he's
yeah.
an Eagle. He was an Eagles
He's
fan.
a Phillies fan.
That's why they get a Eagles
The
sweater.
Philadelphia
on.
Eagle. You got to watch those South
But
Jersey.
when's the last manhunt that's happened? Like that long? When someone escaped prison and been on the loose that long? They were taking pictures with them, all the SWAT, they all lined up, kneeling down and shit. It's like a big photo op.
Yeah. What was that, Ev?
The Boston bomber.
Yeah, the Boston bomber. Really, when those guys were terrorizing a neighborhood after the Boston bombing,
Yeah.
that shootout in the middle of a neighborhood,
but
hiding out in the boat.
It wasn't a man. I mean, they didn't escape from
It
prison.
was
for
a
14
day,
days,
maybe
right?
12 hours,
Yeah.
14 hours.
Watertown or
Yeah.
water something. Yeah.
Absolutely. Good memory.
They made a movie about that.
They did.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yep. Yeah, it's wild shit to think that. And now these people who live in that area, just imagine being there and knowing that the authorities would be like, hey, he was in your neighbor's garage.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Right? You make sure that every weapon that you have legally inside that house, or maybe illegally, you're you have armed and ready.
Yeah.
You have your kids there, right?
Right.
I don't think I'd be going to bed. I have a little balcony above my master that kind of oversees my whole property.
That's what they're saying. The people weren't even watching TV. They're watching their cameras and stuff. Be pretty wild.
I'd be doing the same shit. I got cameras all around my
I mean,
perimeter.
I personally would probably be out there be hunting for them. So
Yeah.
my buddies.
Yeah.
Kind of like that
You would find him and kill him, and then you'd go to jail.
Probably. You read that Tim Kennedy book, right?
Yeah.
How he starts out in the beginning, and it's like you thinking like he's in this crazy zone. And he talks about how like he was like 8 years old.
Yeah.
And they were on a manhunt. A guy that got out of jail.
Yeah.
They were chasing. It's like the same thing.
Dude, he's got a. That book is great.
Dude, insane. If you haven't read that book, like.
And what was the name of it again? I'm drawing a blank.
It's
Scars and Stripes.
Stars and Stripes.
Stars and Stripes.
Yeah.
Scars and Stripes, right?
Scars and Stripes.
Scars and Stripes. Yeah. Man, dude, he did some wild shit.
Yeah, especially like the plunger story where he's out there just like people are rolling around on the ground and he's just out there just shooting them to make sure they're dead.
Dude, yeah, he has.
Or the grenade.
And even the stuff with the sex trafficking.
Oh,
He talked about, it was pretty sure it was Houston. He was running some ops when he got back from the military, and he sat down with this guy who was running girls. Pretty sure they were minors.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, the Super Bowl was going on.
Yeah.
So the local police were like, "Hey, we're fully over here at the stadium to keep the safety. We don't care about the situation." And Tim's going, "Fuck this!" Like he ran up in the hotel, went up to the dude, and dude was like, "Fuck you, pussy!" Like. I know that you got no jurisdiction. You can't do shit about it. And he was like, I could easily kill this motherfucker right now. He deserves it. But then my kids are sitting at home without their dad, and I'm in jail.
All the stories he has, like
crazy.
Just crazy. Like if someone came up to you on the street and started telling you all these stories, you'd be like, you're full of shit. Like, but like these stories that like the whole thing with like all the girls pregnant and stuff like that. Then the one girl that had AIDS,
swimming out in the middle of the ocean,
in the ocean naked.
Yeah, Coast Guard grabbing him.
Like, or the sat phone.
Yep.
When he finally got out of Afghanistan, because all the planes left.
Yep.
And like he said, those people back stateside, like it was like not.
Yeah,
senators.
he thought he was gonna die.
It was not senators, but it was someone that his buddy was helping. That was an officer. They were talking about like. Selling cocaine to these drug dealers to hijack a fucking airplane to go pick them up and shit.
Oh,
They
yeah.
didn't hear from them and all that.
Well, he's been around the world, and I'm sure he's well connected in these intelligence communities, and
And even that like hunting Hitler thing he did.
Yeah, that was a great show too.
It was pretty wild.
I watched it after I read the book. Yeah, it was really good.
It's pretty wild how he talked about how like he got locked in that compound and shit. Like,
it's super wild shit. He's a gnarly dude. He's actually, he's got sheepdog response.
Yeah.
Which is training a lot of, elite people, but also regular people how to, handle a gun, situations that you potentially may get in. You need to protect yourself, your family. And then also I think the coolest thing that he's doing is his schools.
Yeah.
My wife is a retired school teacher. Thankfully, we're blessed to be able to bring her home. And we have another friend. I don't want to say too much. Not that Tim's going to see my podcast. Hopefully he does. But she's in the last interviews to bring one of his schools here. And the concept is to do more regular hands-on training, tools, screwdrivers, critical thinking, not the traditional program that we see nowadays. And I know in Jersey, there's a lot of people, and again, we're a liberal state, and there's pods popping up all over the place.
My wife homeschools our kids.
Yeah.
It's just.
What do you think about the homeschooling? Obviously, you believe in it.
Yeah, it's tough because like I grew up in the public school system, and I'm like,
different now.
I didn't even graduate high school, and I'm like, I turned out fine. But I think our kids thrive, being homeschooled, and there's not that much pressure on them, and they're smarter than if they went to school. And then all the bullshit that goes on in school, like all the stuff that gets pushed. I do think if you have a strong foundation at home, it's hard to manipulate your kid, but there's just too much crap going on. And she's like, I'm not sending the kids to school.
Yeah, my wife was in it. She's pretty laid back. She wouldn't fight the school system. She played by the rules within her abilities.
Yeah.
But she had a kid that wanted a kitty litter. They went from a boy to a girl, and then it identifies as a cat, and just the transgender stuff. Do whatever you want to do, but in young kids, it's a tough thing for me to swallow. And then you hear about the groomers in the school system. You hear about what the books.
I didn't realize till like I was older, like how liberal the school systems are.
I mean, it was given up by the Republicans, how many years ago, and little by little, that was the indoctrination of the country, right? How you slowly divide everybody, and it's through race and sexual orientation, and it's a sick thing that we're not cool with. Our son's in a prep school now. He's 4, but he won't be going to public school.
My thing is like I don't really care like what you identify as, but like you don't gotta groom the children.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Like stop pushing
You're
your
an adult,
views
it's one
on
thing.
everybody else. Like
Yeah.
and like I tell
Especially
people
kids.
I have no issue with what you want to be, but like why do you have to push it? You're the one causing the problems.
And if I push
like,
back at all and I have a different opinion, I'm a bad guy.
Yeah.
Right. I could be potentially canceled from talking about this on YouTube. Right.
Right.
But you're an adult, 25, 35, 45 years old. Hey, go do whatever you want to do. But nowadays, because this gender transformation started happening really a good amount of years now, and a lot of those people are coming out and being like, I was kind of manipulated as a young kid, and like, I want blood. Like,
Yeah.
I'm fucking suing. They're coming out and speaking against it. Obviously they were born with a cock, and now
Right.
they have a different part or no longer have that. It's just think about how much that messes with somebody's head. They went through that as a child. It's just nothing that needs, even politics in general. It doesn't need to be pushed on a kid inside of a public forum.
Right.
And back to Tim Kennedy, they're making sure that their schools don't have that shit, and I think that's going to be one of the biggest thing that blows up for him.
Yeah, he's
The powerhouse.
he's got a lot going on. He's super knowledgeable, super connected. And,
I think in the not too distant future we can have him on Fireside.
Right.
He's friendly with Keaton. I had him ask about the podcast, and
yeah. I actually was listening to a podcast on the way over here of a guy that was on Tommy Mello's podcast. I was actually talking about how he got Tim Kennedy on his podcast. And he said he's like, I just started doing some research and trying to see, and he's like, I was on his website and like scrolling down, I scrolled all the way down and it said like, oh, contact this person, this person, this person. But at the very bottom in really, really small letters, he's like, it said, and if there's an American emergency, contact, and it was his email.
Yeah.
And he's like, so I emailed him and I said, and he's like, there's a emergency in the plumbing industry or something like that. And then in the subject and in the body, he put like, something, we're getting bored to death of it or something like that. And Tim Kennedy actually read the email, and apparently like he was reading, his wife was getting out of the shower, walked out of the bathroom, and he was reading it and he laughed, and she's like, what's so funny? And he's like showed her, and she's like, oh, you got to do that podcast. And so he got Tim Kennedy on his
super
podcast,
creative.
and he's like, crazy thing is, he's like, I get like 200 requests a day for different podcasts, and like he ended up jumping on his podcast for it.
I do know if he's not friends with you or something unique like that happens, he charges $50,000.
Yeah, and he did it for free.
Yeah,
that
he
podcast.
did, yeah,
The
and that
guy
speaks
lucked out.
to who he is.
Yeah.
But if my friend lands this school and I'm a vocal point of being a part of that, he'll definitely get on Fireside,
For sure.
and we'll be talking about his school. But
Okay,
dude,
yeah.
this has been awesome. This is fun. I like to ask 2 questions at the end of all podcasts. First one is, if you're a young entrepreneur, girl or guy starting out right now, what's the one thing you would tell them?
Just start.
Yeah, take action.
Just start. Too many people failure to implement. So just take the nuggets that you get and just run with it and just start. Because you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and the second thing is let's talk about the virtual universe. That's really how we kind of met. What's someone you want to give some love to? A friend of yours, big, small name, business?
I think I want to give a shout out to, Eric, my trainer,
Yeah.
because he's my personal trainer, but he's become a really good friend of mine. And he's helped push me to be better.
And what's Eric's Instagram? Do you know off the top of your head?
Outlaw Strength.
Outlaw Strength.
Yep.
Make sure you guys check out Outlaw Strength. Dude, this is awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I know you're busy. You're out here for some other business.
Yeah.
You found some time. You brought your friends,
Right.
partners. This is great, dude.
No, I appreciate you having me on. I'm glad we can make it happen. And it's an awesome time.
we're going to be pushing GCS through your Long Island's tour.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yep.
Cheers. If you enjoyed the podcast and you want to learn more about it, check out the links below.